So in the spirit of keeping it somewhat light, this past summer, the great American treasure, Tom Lehrer, passed away. And I'm always shocked at how many people don't know who he is. And I mean, he was 97, so he was, well past the kind of prime of his public years. But he was an American academic, a mathematician, as well as a composer, a lecturer on musical theater and music, and was just the silliest but smartest goose ever. I loved him. And a generous and interesting soul. He never partnered. He left all of his creative work and songs to the public domain. So very generous and thoughtful that way about, how do we engender and support creative work and exchange. But he was a MIT-trained mathematician. He also taught at MIT and Harvard for many years, but he loved music. He particularly liked the American musical form, but also classical music. And he started writing his own satirical songs that would sometimes be a send-up of musical forms, like, oh, this is the classic Mozart aria, or this is, the folk song, and they're always singing about this or that. But then he would also do a lot of really timely reflections, meditations on nuclear war, or, international conflict, or racial injustice. And from this very satirical, silly, funny place, but he was getting at really deep things, right? The truest things are often said in jest. One of my favorite works of his is The Year That Was. I think it was written in 1965 or something like that. I'm going to get the year wrong, but you can easily find it on YouTube, Spotify. And it was his going through, what he deemed like the most important headlines of the year, including some really hilarious, obscure ones like the death of Alma Mahler, who had 3 husbands, the first of which was Gustav Mahler, the composer, and she's kind of like the Lou Andre Salome of the mid-20th century. She was the lover or wife of like every important cultural person, man in Central Europe or America from a good 30 years. And he wrote this ballad about Alma Mahler and how it was the most salacious obituary he had ever read. And not enough people know him, but it's sad but true that a lot of his songs on nuclear war and racial injustice are just as timely today as they were when he wrote them. But so witty, so funny. He also has, some very witty takedowns of like new approaches to teaching math, which seems like, why would I ever want to listen to a song about that? But deeply funny and insightful, culturally insightful, or the periodic table or this or that. So Tom Lehrer, not enough people know him. It's way too soon to forget him. He also, in his retirement, left the East Coast and went to, I think, the University of California somewhere, and was teaching courses on the history of musical theater, and has one of my favorite lines from him in describing the trajectory of Kurt Weill's life and his relationship with his wife, Larilenia. Apparently there was some years in the early years where she left him for a tenor, and he goes, why you would ever leave a composer for a tenor? Which is so true. I mean, what soprano doesn't want a composer as her husband to, immortalize her through great music as he did, and she was a great champion and preserver of his work. Anyway, Tom Lehrer, what a soul.